Hello, Hobo Nation, and welcome to another Hangin' with Hobo live. It is Saturday night, 9 p.m., and I'm thankful for each and every one of you that are here tonight. And right now, we're starting out with some low numbers, but in the next few minutes, I expect to see those numbers triple. And because of those lollygaggers coming in here late, we're going to spend the first couple of minutes just saying, "Hey, how you doing, everybody?" I see we got some familiar faces in the stream, and there was somebody who was missing in action there for just a little bit, but Chris is back. Hope you're doing well, Chris. Hope everything's okay. Your absence was notably missed by not just me, but by everybody. So hope everything's well in your world, and glad you're back. Glad to see everybody that is here. There was one face I was looking for who has also been traveling. I ain't seen him in the stream yet. He might pop up in here. Let's see here. Looking to see, and I'm afraid to that's just so you know I'm still here and I'm not froze. Let's see here. See, we've already almost doubled the numbers. Hi from Belize. Oh wow. Hey. Let's see here. All right. So I haven't seen this name in the stream yet, but the post office made a liar out of me today. I told one of my customers, Gary. I told Gary that his shipment would go out today in the post office, but the postman did not stop at my house because he did not see the flag up on my mailbox because there was my neighbor's car parked in front of it, so he didn't see it. So no postman today, so nothing went out. So I had to come up with a fix for that because there's regularly a car parked in front of my mailbox, and there's nothing I can do about that. So I said, I'm going to put a sign up really, really high up on my front porch that can, advertise the house number and also let the postman know he needs to stop if I've got something going out. So I made this today, and that's how it'll go on my front porch. There we go. So I drew out a mailbox in Lightburn and then put the name, the business, Fortner Investments, which is the technical name, the taxable name for Hobo with Wood. And then I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. How's he going to know to stop if there's no flag to put up? There's a flag to put up. So whenever this will be just out hanging on one of the posts on the porch, but when I got something to go out, I'll put the flag up. Yeah, and then he can see that when he can't see the actual mailbox. Isn't that pretty cool? I was like, okay, and nothing going out. Okay, something going out. Okay, and I'm going to hang that on a chain or something, suspended off one of the columns. You're going, how's you doing that? It's just a solid piece of. I don't know if this is Purple Heart or Paduke. I think this is Paduke. It's got a natural red color to it. But how are you doing that? I'm doing it with magnets. Well, where are the magnets at? Where are the magnets at? The magnets are buried in the wood. I don't have this one sanded and finished quite perfect. And you can barely see two little indentations there drilled in the back of the wood. Oh, right there's one and one above it. And I've got the rare earth magnets drilled deep into the wood, so they're only just a millimeter below the surface. And then I filled the holes with the bamboo dowels I've got that I used on the birdhouse, and then sanded it smooth, and then painted them, hit them. And this is actually 2 layers of the. Again, I think this is Paduke, but it's 3mm and it's 2 layers of it. So it's total of 6 now. And I use the laser to engrave a pocket into each piece of it on one of them mirrored from the other, and then sandwich the 2 magnets together. And now when I need to put the flag up, I can put the flag up. And then when you don't need to stop, it's just there. So, gotta get them. They gotta be lined up. But did that today, and I had to do that because they made a liar out of me. And Gary, your package will go out in Monday's mail now. And what's going out in the mail? Well, I want to give thanks to all of my patrons above and beyond your regular support of being a patron. Last week, I had mentioned, I think it might be actually when I showed how I processed the cedar pickets and made them into plaques. Well, I offered those to my patrons first and foremost. And thanks to my patrons, I've almost sold enough. I've got to buy a new washer and dryer. And I've sold enough of the plaques to almost pay for one of those machines. So thank you. And just show you what those look like if you hadn't seen them. I put a nice routed edge on them and then sand them nice. They've planed out. Now, these do not have the keyholes in them because I'm waiting until the orders are filled to put keyholes in them, because some people want keyholes and some people don't. And it's for 2 reasons. The first reason I got was like, well, if we mess up this side and there's no keyholes on the other side, we can always engrave the other, even though there's the cove on this one side. We can always engrave the flip side. And the second reason everybody's been saying, hey, just leave the keyholes off. And I warned you. And even though I warned you, guess what I did again? This is some oak that I processed and put the Roman OG router edge on that, and it's a little nicer than just the cove. But this was processed, had 2 keyholes in it. I put it on my laser and engraved, "One fine fisherman lives here with the catch of his life." Got it off, put my first coats of finish on there. Look how shiny that is. And then when I flipped it over to do my backside, I had engraved it upside down. This was the original. There's the top. And I had the keyhole on the bottom. So I had to go back to the router, put another keyhole in it. And so that's the other reason people were like, you know what? Just leave them off. Because even though I've told you and I've done it and messed up, I've done it again. You got to pay attention to which, if you buy these from me or anybody else, before you go to the laser, make sure your orientation's correct whenever you go to engrave it. I warned you, and I still did it. But that turned out pretty cool. And I'm showing you these because I want to show you what the gold patrons are getting this month. This is just one of the pieces of artwork. And then this one, I see Ed's in the shop, or Ed's in the stream rather. And I don't know if that's the Ed Cameron or not, but Ed had asked for something. So God made a dog. And so I made that clean and simple and engraved that on some oak. And in addition to the cedar, I've also got the maple. I showed you these several weeks ago, but the maple I'm often offering with a cove, routed edge, or without. Just square it off everywhere. And no keyholes in these because these are a little bit thinner. And this is one of the pieces of cedar that I really, really loved. I was amazed to see cedar have so many colors. You can get a dark, here we go. Yep. These are 2 different, processed obviously from 2 different pickets. But this one is very, very blonde and has some pretty good grain in it. And this one was really, really dark. And it's got a little bit of pecky wood to it from the insects or what have you. But this was really cool because it actually has some gray in it, some gray tones, and I engraved. Since we're redefining everything, this is a cordless hole puncher. And I just thought it was funny. Now, why am I showing you all these signs? Two reasons. One, I'm going to jump over here to Lightburn, pull this over here. There we go. Put that in there. So for the last several months, for my gold patrons in Patreon, I've been sharing an art library every month. And I've been doing some some just pieces that I use for design elements, different design elements, no complete designs, just elements that you can create your own designs with. And we're going to use one of those libraries tonight to create a three-layered piece using one single piece of line art. And that whole thing is going to transform. And I'll use some text. I'll use a font at the very end. But I'm going to show you how to build those tonight. And we've almost tripled our numbers. I told you those lollygaggers would be coming in. And you lollygaggers, I've been stalling and waiting for you. I'm waiting for a magic number here. But I want to show you this. And actually, we're going to jump into the designs. And I see some comments there. I'll get to them in just a second. But this is the art library that I shared with the gold patrons for this month. And switch. So it's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 different complete designs for making plaques. And they're oriented so you can do them. Some of them are in portrait mode, some of them are in landscape mode. But real quick, I just will show you these. Because these, like I said, this was free to the gold patrons this month. And let me put this in a different view style. There we go. So I've got the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's one sign. A true friend remembers your birthday, but not your age. And you guys, I think we did this in one of the videos. I showed how to actually create this. And you can edit this and change the city and put the different coordinates in there. That's the hole punch I just showed you. That's the video I did this week or last week. Good jokes, bad jokes, dad jokes. Give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:11. My neighbors are listening to great music, whether they like it or not. Now, I designed all of this in Lightburn. The curved font, the warped font where it's tall and stretched out here in the middle, all that was warped, all done in Lightburn. So God made a dog. I don't know. I know that I got hair on the couch. That's why it's called furniture. And this one I designed. This one I'm really kind of happy with because that one come completely out of the brain that is Hobo with Wood. There's a second one in here that shares the same sentiment. Sometimes we let our own memories or whatever keep us in a cage. So freedom. It can be as simple as letting go. And the symbolism here is there's a man in a cage and he's holding on to a balloon and he's just, the balloon's being pulled away from him, but he's holding on to it. But if you look, the balloon's attached to the pin holding the gate closed. If he'd just let it go, he'd have his freedom. And then one fine fisherman, there we go, lives here with the catch of his life. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is good men to do nothing. Behind every successful man stands a woman telling him that he's wrong. And this one, I'm going to show you how to make this text tonight. Warning. And it's kind of embossed or three-dimensional. This is going to be one of the things I'm going to show you how to do in Lightburn using fonts that you already have. The technique behind this is not that difficult. There is some repetition that is absolutely necessary, and if you don't do it in the right order, priority, it can screw things up. But it's a very, very simple procedure, and I'm going to show you how to do that. That's the embossed or 3D text I'm going to show you how to do, along with doing an actual 3D piece. But warning, unruly children will be used for bait. And this is the other one I come up with. Sometimes your worst enemy is your own memory. Let it go. And that could be changed from memory to memories. It's all editable. You've seen this one a few weeks ago. I'm going to let God fix it, because if I fix it, I'm going to jail. Beware, dog can't hold his liquor. I like that. He is risen. Pray on it, pray over it, pray through it. So when is this I'm old enough to know better supposed to kick in? And I want to show you how I created this fella right here. The goofy little man with snaggletooth. I'll show you that. We don't call 911 with the bullets in the 11. And because someone we love is in heaven, there's a little bit of heaven in our home. So all of those are included in one library, and all of the gold patrons are able to download that for free and use those on either the plaques they bought from me or plaques they buy from anywhere, or just the regular plywood they've been using. But this saves you a whole lot of time. You don't have to go in and think of anything or create anything, or maybe it'll just help inspire you to do something of your own using some of these elements of this library. So I'm going to come back up here and look for questions and comments. And yep, all right, we hit the magic number. So I knew those lollygaggers would be coming late, and I've learned. I figured you guys out. So we're just getting started on the how-to. So you haven't missed anything. Let's see, comments. Carl says, I thought it was against the law to park in front of a mailbox. Against the law to park in front of a fire hydrant. I don't know about a mailbox, and actually my mailbox is not in your typical place. It's in an atypical place. I've got it on the side of my house, between my house and another business, the business I used to own, because the mailman pulls in to deliver their mail, and he can just look and see my mailbox and just walk to it while he's already out of his vehicle. Prior to that, he was having to go out, drive, go around, turn around, do a 360, and it was an aggravation for him to get to my mailbox where it was at. So it's not on the street anymore. It's in the parking lot, and that's why a car is parked in front of it, because there's a parking place. But it is done just sheerly for the convenience of the postal carrier. But he didn't notice the flag up today. You guys get your mail picked up. We have to take it to the local post office. Yeah, Terry, they come by here daily. There's a little metal flag on our mailbox that we can erect, and if we've got something going out and he sees that, he's supposed to stop and take it out of the box. What speed and power did you use on the cedar with a 10-watt laser? Depends on the cedar, because what I've noticed on the cedar, that really dark wood, it's also really, really dense wood. It's harder. The lighter the wood, the softer it is, has been my experience here. So what I have been doing in order to get this, and not only is this really, really dark, I didn't use any agents to make it dark like this, but not only is it dark, but if I check the plunge depth of this, let's see here, this R millimeters. This is 1.5 millimeters deep. 1.5 millimeter deep in the wood itself, and you can see how that's raised up right there. It's 1.5 millimeters, and so in order to get this result, I did a 16,000 millimeters per second, and I think at about 80 or 85% power, and I did it for 2 passes, and that put in a pretty deep pocket, but it had no color to it practically at all. It just burned away the material. Very little burn. Once I got the pocket depth that I wanted to get the color, the dark color, I did 720 millimeters a minute at 9% power, 2 passes, then followed that up with a line after fill just to clean the edges up and give it definition. Same speed and power, 720 millimeters a second and 8.5% power on the line after fill. And that made it super, super dark and look really nice. And that's this same speed and power on the oak, and the oak's even darker. Low and slow if you want dark. Low and slow. And if you're doing bamboo, low and slow to get a dark uniform color on bamboo. But on bamboo, not only low and slow, but pre-focus or raise the focus about 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters above your nominal focal point, and that will darken your bamboo. Questions, and Carl says the cedars. He's talking about the cedar plaque. Say they're great and they smell great. Yeah, I love the smell of that when they're engraving. Chris says I put a pencil. Yes, that would be smart, Chris. Chris is put a little mark on your material so you know which way's up, so you don't engrave it upside down if it has a hanger or something on the back. Very wise. All right, now marking this spot, and now let's get into the design. First, I'm going to show you how to create that embossed or 3D text, and even how to warp it and transform it. And in fact, we'll do that one right there. Let's grab that, pull that out of the way, get rid of all these guys. And let's pull this. Terry, no, I did not do any taping. No taping. And with that low and slow, there is no smoke. And at 16,000 and 85% power, it doesn't char or burn. It just blasts that out of there. All right, so I want to recreate this right here. And right now, if I click on that and I have to ungroup it, I'm going to put it in a different view style. I'm going to put it in wireframe so I can see it and select the individual pieces, ungroup again. There we go. Now it's ungrouped. And if I select that now, those are individual pieces. Because of what I'm getting ready to have to do to my text and transform it, it's no longer text. So if you're going to be doing this, and you're going to be doing it to more than just a single word, if you're going to be doing it to 3 or 4, spell check yourself. Spell check yourself, because once you make these modifications, you can no longer edit your text. It's no longer text, no longer a font. It is now a line path. So once you do this, if you've got a misspelling, and I do it all the time, you have to start over. So how do we get the warning like that? All right. I'm going to draw out a rectangle, and we'll put it on the black layer, and we're going to convert that to a path so I can see my nodes. Convert to a path, go to node editing. I'm going to put a node in the middle by hitting the letter M and letter M again. Then I'm going to come up here. Let's see. I think I've got my movement tab at 10 mil. Nope, 12. That'll work. 12. So I'm going to select that node, and I'm going to arrow up 12. And actually, that's a little bit much given the size of that. So I'm going to hold shift and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So that's kind of that same shape. I'm not going to be worried about specifics. But now I don't want to put the word warning in there. So I've got my font select. I'm going to go to Arial Bold because I want, or Arial Black rather, because those are some pretty big, bold letters. And I typed that all in lowercase, but all I got to do is come up here to my text tool and click uppercase. Now I just capitalize everything. All right, so now I've got that. I'm going to size it, hold control and shrink her down. And I'll put it in the center. And this is actually, in fact, if you look right here at my horizontal spacing and V spacing, I've got values in there from when I previously used my text tool. I don't need those. I need to get rid of those. I'm going to put 0 and 0. And now I'll size it down to the shape or size that I want. And I'm on about there. But my problem is I need more spacing between the letters because if you look, I need that space for that shadow or that embossed look to be between the letters and it not be crowded. So to create that additional space, I need to increase my horizontal spacing or my H space. H space is horizontal space. So I'm going to increase it to give me spacing for what I want to have done. And right now I'm going to just duplicate this, Control D, duplicate it. Now there's two of them there, one on top of the other. And I'm going to change my view mode again back to wireframe field. And let's put that on a different path. There we go. Just so I can see these again. All right. So there's one of the two copies. And my movement, we're going to make that 1 millimeter even for shift arrow. So now I'm going to select that one and shift arrow down 1 and over 1. So now I can start to see how much space is going to be left between each of the letters. And I'm going to, that's getting, it's not, I don't even have them positioned quite right yet. I want to give another 1/2 mil. So 1/2 mil on control arrow. 1/2 mil. Okay. And control. There we go. And that looks pretty good. The space between there and there looks all right. All right. So to create the embossing or that 3D effect, see how close I am to the edge over here? I don't like that. So, and I'm going to try and get everything positioned the way I want it before I start converting it from a text to a path. So I'm going to select both of these, group them, and then center that up. And I can live with that. All right, now, this is where you got to start paying attention to your priorities and placement. I'm going to cut away part of the duplicate or the one that I moved down and over. I moved that one down and over 2.5 millimeters. The 1/2 millimeter is because I'm actually going to leave a 1/2 millimeter space between the shadow and the original font. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the original font or the original word up here. And I'm going to go back to wireframe so you can see, and I got to ungroup it. See, when I went back to wireframe, I could see that I had it grouped because I got a ... dash ... dash. So I ungroup and get just that top one. Now I'm going to Control D, duplicate it again, Control D. And while that duplicate is selected, I'm going to put it on a toolpath on T2. Now that that's on T2 and it's selected, I'm going to hold my control, which I put at 1/2 mil, and I'm going to come down 1 and over 1. So now I've actually got 3 copies there. I've got my original, I've got the shadow that I moved 2.5 mil down and over, and then the third duplicate, which I moved 1/2 mil and put it on a toolpath. So I'm going to select the second duplicate, hold my shift key, and select that toolpath. I'm on toolpath. There we go. Now, how many from our last live stream, how many people remember how many objects you can work with your Boolean tools? When you're going to do your Booleans, add and subtracts, how many things can you add and subtract at one time? Nobody? When your Boolean tools, I don't know if John says that's his answer. There you go, Kevin. 2 objects. You can only work with 2 objects. So if we look, our toolpath is 1 object, and our second duplicate is 1 object. So I'm going to select the second duplicate, the text, first, hold shift, and select the toolpath. And now I have the option to subtract. So now I've got part of my shadow, but this over here, that ain't right. So I've got to do it one more time. Selecting my original, I've got to duplicate it. And the reason you have to duplicate it is because when you use your Boolean tools to subtract a piece of the design, the first piece or the second piece that you selected, which is your cookie cutter, is gone. You get to use it one time. Because if you look, I used the toolpath to cut away that part of the font. Well, the toolpath is gone. It no longer exists. So I've got my original text selected. I'm going to hit Control D and duplicate it again. And now I'm going to select the shadow. That's A, hold my shift key and select the original font and subtract it. And that got rid of those little pieces in there. So now when I put it back in my view mode for field, you got that going on. You got a shadow effect going on. Now there, it's a 1/2 mil was probably too much. Go see how I got a nice R over here. And this is where, it's practice. The process is the same, but once you okay, it's like, oh, okay, well, I moved that one too much. Maybe don't move that 1/2 mil. It needs to be a 1/4 mil. But let me show you what happens real quick, because all we got to do is undo, undo, undo. Keep undoing, undoing. All right. So there's 2 copies. Let's group those, center them up. Now I'm going to change my movement to a 1/4 mil. But I want to show you 2 things. One, there's ungroup it. If I take one of those copies and move it down 1, 2, now you can see right there, you can see that doesn't look too terrible. But if I do a 1/4 mil back up, that's even better. So if I don't allow for the additional space where I did a minute ago, if I just take and duplicate the original, Control D, and then say A for the shadow, subtract the original, and then do it again, duplicate the original, and then subtract. Let's see, A, subtract. So now I've got a good A, a good R. But see, there's note, and you get two different effects. The first one I did is more of a shadow, and this one is an embossed look. It's almost like it's almost a solid letter. Because if we look at the difference, see how this one, you've got the space between them, so it looks like it's above the surface casting a shadow, and this one is almost like a solid letter with no space in between them. And in order to do that, I've actually got another duplicate on there. If I put this back in a different view, wireframe course, there we go. So there is the text that I subtracted the original from. And this, you got to ungroup it. There we go. That is the original text. So that's one copy, and that's the other edited second duplicate. And when we look at that in fill mode, it all blurs together. In order to get the first one as just an outline, you have to select that original text and duplicate it. And with that being duplicated, it now becomes just an outer line that gets engraved with the shadow behind it. You can do that with any of your fonts. You can create that solid letter where it's kind of almost an embossed look, and then the other where it's a shadow by creating an additional space and subtracting that from it. Now, how do I warp it to the shape of the design? We're going to select every bit of this, and we're going to group it, and we're going to make sure it's in the center of that again. There we go. Now that I've got all of that grouped, I'm going to go over to my tools, and I'm going to use my deform selection tool. 16 points, deform selection. And you notice I've got my grid on. I don't typically work with my grid. The grid display, that's in your settings, your gears and settings, your grids here. Medium contrast or high contrast, we'll show high for now, or off. Normally I have it off, but let's put this to high so it shows up really good. Because here we've got 16 points. And what I would love is if you were to be able to hold shift or hold control in this tool, and it grabs the two mirroring objects or mirroring nodes, if you will, on this deformation nodes. So you can move two at the same time and you move them equal distance. And it seems like it might have used to work that way, but now it doesn't seem to. At least I haven't. We'll try it again here. But we're using the grid. I can use my grid to help me make sure I keep those nodes moved equally. The deformation nodes. So right now, everything's nice and square. But I want to have this middle part of warning kind of emulate this angle up here. So I'm going to grab this node right here, and I'm going to drag it up. Oh, I mean, there it is. You hold shift. I knew you used to hold shift, and it will move the corresponding mirrored node. So here and here. And if I move this one over here holding shift, it'll move this one and this one. But by holding shift, I can move both those up, and I can use my grid. If I zoom in tight, I can, and by holding shift, I'm actually moving them both equal, the same amount. So I don't have to worry about the grid too much. But see how it's moving just the top of the warning Well, now I want to keep it kind of proportional. So I'm going to still holding shift. I'm going to drag that one on up. Then I'll drag this one on up. And now I'm starting to get, this obviously comes to a point, and I don't have a center point here, but this is getting more like that, and keeping that bottom nice and flat. And you can pinch it if you wanted to, but we don't want to do that. I'm just wanting to stretch that up. And that is how I got that with a different look. I went with the shadow instead of the embossing. So there's the first 3D trick or illusion. And like I said, that was just using Arial Bold. You can do that with any font that you have in your font library. Type out your first original, create a duplicate, move that duplicate down and over, depending on if you want to leave a space in it to create a shadow or a solid, then you don't do a third one. But original, create a duplicate, move it down and over, then create a duplicate of your original. Select your shadow, hold shift, select your second duplicate of your original and subtract it. That'll give you the beginnings of your first shadow. If there are still overlapping pieces when you're doing the space, then you'll have to do that second or third copy of the original text to subtract it from the other pieces. And if you missed it, you can always hit that, go back and see it in this video, because we're not going to go over it and beat a dead horse here. Now, we're going to take a single shape out of the art library and create a 3-layered design with, and this will be design that we're going to work and make it happen here in the stream. Then I'll save it. Now I'm not going to have the liberty to test this piece, but for you guys that are here in the stream, once I get to that point and I feel like it's good, where I would be doing my first test cuts, I'll save that file and put it on the website for you guys to download for free. And I'm going to do the basic concept of the artwork, and then my goal is I have here we go. I have a bunch of shadow boxes, 5-inch shadow boxes, and I've been meaning to, and I keep putting it off and putting it off. I want to create multi-layer designs that I can put in the shadow box to have a nice piece for sale. So I'm going to create this basic concept and then show you how you can take a concept or a design like that and make it work in something like this. And one of the biggest tips that I can give you when you're going to start creating a design, and I've said this before multiple times, design it in its smallest possible size that you're going to use it. Because if you design it in its smallest possible size, and I'm going to design it so that it will work in this 5-inch shadow box. Then if I decide I'm going to blow it up, it can be blown up and work in 150 mil, or a 6-inch piece, or bigger, or, but if you design it, and because I'm going to put lace, I'm going to design a lace type of a situation on one of the layers. And because it's going to be a lace or a lattice, if I design it at 8 inches or 10 inches or 12 inches, a full 300 by 300, and I design it to where it looks really, really nice and dainty with that lattice or the lace, and then you shrink it down, one of two things can happen. It's either going to be too fragile or it may not even work. It may just be junk. So design it at its smallest possible concept or use. And then if you blow it up, it's still going to look good and not lose any of its practicality or functionality. All right. Yep. Chris says, yep. Holding shift. Figured that out. And I thought control used to do something, and that's why I kept trying to do control earlier and it didn't work. But I hit shift this time and yeah, I found it. There. All right. Now, let's clean up Lightburn. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab just a basic heart. And I'm going to put it in line mode. And I'm going to turn my grid off. Go to my gears, go to my display units, turn my grid off. And okay. So now you can see what's going on a little bit better. Now, I'm going to, for giggles, I'm going to measure this. It's a 5-inch shadow box, but what is its interior dimensions? It is 112 mil. All right. So my box is 112 mil internal. And let's put this, we got aspect ratio locked, and look at our two measurements here. The biggest measurement's the width. And so if I put that at 112 and then bullseye it, then that's going to fit within my design, within the interior of my 5-inch box. So with knowing that, then I want to create my entire design within this size of a work area. All right, so I'm going to create a piece that's going to be at least 3 inches, or 3 inches, three layers. And Robert says, when I don't want to see the grid, I just design outside the work area. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So there's my size. And I'm going to do at least 3 layers. So if I'm going to do 3 layers, guess what? I've already created 1 layer. That heart will be the very backboard. So I'm going to duplicate that. And I didn't want to duplicate the whole thing. Get rid of that one. So there's layer 1. So if that's layer 1, now I want to create a lace or kind of a lattice that's going to fill this entire area. First thing I'm going to do is Control D, duplicate that. And I'm going to, this entire design is only going to use the shape of the heart, minus the font that we'll put some text in here a little bit. But we're going to only use this one heart shape, and that's it. So I've duplicated that heart. I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to shrink it down. And I'm going to shrink it down to about that size. And I'm just eyeballing it on what I think might look okay. And that's, we'll just say 20 mil right here with the aspect ratio locked. All right. Now, with that done, I'm going to do an offset. And we'll do, I don't know if I want to do corners. Or round. We'll do round. We'll do round instead of, and then 2 millimeter offset. Now, this is why you want to design small and then you can blow it up. Because if you make it really, really big and you say, okay, well, I only want to have a 2-inch off or 2 millimeter offset, and you're designing it really, really big. Well, then when you shrink it down, you no longer have 2 mil. It might be a mil or half a mil or quarter mil. And that's where you start creating the fragile situations. But if I design it small and do it with a 2mm offset, then it's going to be strong enough. So I'm not going to delete my original. I did an inward offset of 2mm and say okay. Now I'm going to group both of those. And I'm going to bring it over here. And I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, duplicate that. And then I'm going to grab the bottom of it right there. And I'm going to drag the bottom up until I get the crosshairs in the center. And it's not going to give me the crosshairs with it grouped. So I got to ungroup this. Now grab this one and grab that bottom. I'm looking for the crosshairs right there. Group that back. Now I'm going to select my original, or that's the duplicate, and then select the original and do a circular array. And don't know if that's going to work or not. I might need to be closer. All right. Yep. In fact, I want to have these touching in the middle. So I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to bring this down 1 mil. And then I'm going to go back to that circular array. Still not quite touching. I'm beginning to like what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to cancel that and bring it on down a little bit more. That was a full mil. That might be too much. Let's see. No, I got an overlap there. Yeah, I think that was too much because I lost that gap. So cancel. This is why I said pack a cooler, guys. We're designing this on the fly. 0.5 mil. And you'll see. You probably don't see what I'm seeing right now. Some of you who have been doing this for a while might. I'm going to move this even less. 1/8 of a mil. I'm trying to get them to touch in the center, but leave a gap at the same time. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that or not, but we're going to keep trying. And this will be the last attempt. If this don't work, we're going to press on. All right, I think that's going to work right there. All right. I think. We'll see. All right. Group results, it don't matter here yet. Actually, we're going to tell it not to group results and say okay. Now, I'm going to start welding stuff together. These are grouped in pairs, but I need to weld them together. And you can only do how many at one time? Oh, I got some comments here. Jim says, with the grid off, I like to use full screen cursor. Yeah, yep. I don't like that full screen cursor. And try small arc, then circular array. Try small circle. Yeah, I'm actually, and a small circle would work, but I'm trying to get it. Well, you'll see. But I need to weld all these together right now. So I'm hold shift and select one, weld it. Hold shift, grab the next one, weld it. And weld it. And weld it. And that worked. I was trying to get these guys right here. And there's a little variance in them because of the way that they were arranged. That's got the flat edge. These are pointed. And I want to have them both pointed. So I'm going to ungroup all of this. And I'm going to select both of these, group it, select both of these, group it and then duplicate it and then flip it and then put it in the center of these. And then get rid of these. And actually, these could probably be stand to move down. We'll go right there and get rid of the others. All right. So now I've got that. I'm going to group all that together. Now I'm going to create an array, and I'm going to bring one of the original shapes up here, put it on a toolpath. I'm going to create an array of this fella. And I'm going to do five columns. I need them to overlap a little. So I'm going to, my X spacing, down. There we go. And I'm looking to create that little bit of a diamond shape right there. And I'm actually going to say negative, and actually -2. Not negative 0.2. Negative, not negative 0.2. Come on, -2. All right. That gives me a good overlap there, keeping the shape. Because it's only a 2 millimeter, that looks good. So that's 5 rows. Now I'm going to shift by half and create rows coming down. And I'm going to do it with the same effect. -14 is too much, so I'm going to increase to there, -11. And that gives me a pretty good overlap. So now, can you start to see the lace slash lattice and using the heart shapes? So now I've got that, and I can't group the results because I'm going to have to weld all these together. And you can only do 2 pieces at a time when you're using the Boolean tools. So I'm not going to group it. I'm going to say okay. And what I want to do is I want to position the point of the heart at the optimum position within this array. Hopefully I've created it big enough to find the best position to position the heart, that it looks good, because I'm going to use that tool path to cut this lattice slash lace out to help create the second layer of the design. So what I'm looking at, and actually I think I do see a good point. If I grab the point of that heart, and if I put it at the point of that diamond right there, let's see what it looks like. In fact, I'm going to put that on a different path so I can see it better. Let's put it on a black path and put it in line mode. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good, I think, for what my end result's going to be. I've got a desired outcome in my mind of what I want it to look like. So I want to make sure that it's balanced. Thank you, Tom. God bless you, sir. Thank you so very much. So I'm with that positioned there. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. If it don't work, we can always undo. But because I think it's possible and highly likely that it ain't gonna work, and don't know how far I'm gonna be down this path before I realize, yeah, that ain't right. At this point, I'm going to duplicate everything I've got right here because right now I like what I've got. So I'm going to duplicate all this and move it over to the side. That way, if I'm 10 or 12 steps into it and realize I'm not happy with that, I can just delete it, grab this, pull it over, and start over. So I'm going to select every bit of that, Control D, duplicate it, and move that over here out the way for now. That may get deleted and I may not ever need it again, but just in case, I got it. Now, this is going to be layer number 2. And in order to create a layer that I can have this lattice work / lace work, I need to have something that I can weld it to and or subtract it from. I've got the original heart shape. I'm going to duplicate that, or not, I'm not even going to duplicate it. I'm going to do an inward offset of 2 millimeters again, the same 2 millimeters. So offset, inward, round, don't delete, 2 millimeters, and say okay. Now, I still haven't welded all this together. These are still, if I went and picked these out, and you're going to see in a second, there's a whole bunch of individual shapes here. And before I can cut these out of that center part of the heart, it has to be one unified piece, one solid piece, one object, because you can only work with 2 objects and Boolean tools. So I'm going to turn off my line here. Turn off. There we go. And I'm going to start welding these together. So I'm going to grab one, grab the next one, and weld it, and just keep doing it, weld them together. And as these weld together, you're going to start to see more and more of that lace look or that lattice look that that I had designed in my brain. If you didn't see it before, now you can. So I just turned that on temporarily to see where I needed to grab my pieces, how far out they needed to be. And that might do it. Let's see. Turn that back on. Nope. Need to get this piece over here. And now everything within that is welded together. So now, I say it a lot in my streams. There's always another way. There's more than one way to accomplish what I'm getting ready to do. And that's not take a drink of RC. Also, there's about one way to do that. Unless you're talking about over ice in a glass with a straw. I guess technically there's more than one. There are lots of ways you can do that too. But I've got 2 shapes. I've got the larger heart, then the 2 millimeter inward offset. That's 2 individual pieces. If I group those 2 together, that's one object. Then I could use that one object of the 2 offsets together to use the Boolean tools with now that piece that I just welded, because that's one object, and I can get a result. And I can get the result that I want, but you got to go around your elbow to get to your butt because of the way it all works. So what I do, if you use the Boolean tool just below the offset, can you weld more than 2 objects? So these 3, well, actually those are all touching. There's 3 objects. Ed, yes, you can. I guess that's not technically a Boolean tool. I guess it is. What is it? Because Boolean tools, you only work with 2 objects. But look at there. Stacy taught me something 2 weeks ago. But I'm looking here. These 3 are grayed out. Because if you notice, if I undo, if I select the first object where we welded everything together, that's one object. And I hold shift and select this one, all 4 of these are options that you can use. You can weld them here, but up here, this is weld all selected shapes together. So, okay, weld all selected shapes together. Thank you, Ed. God bless you, sir. But see how these are all 4 of an option? Well, if you hold shift and you select another one, and you see down here, you got 3 objects. The only one that's an option is this piece up here that Ed just pointed out. And I've never used that before. Because I've always, if I weld all those together, done. Now it's welded everything. Ed, are you Ed? Oh, that's Ed Cameron. I think there was another Ed in here too. Ed, I'm 99% sure you're a local fella. And I announced this last week. One of the viewers, and I don't know if he's in the stream tonight, is coming into the area on tax day, April 15th. And we're going to go to West Penn Hardwoods. If you've never been to West Penn Hardwoods and you'd like to go to West Penn Hardwoods, email me, hobowithwood@gmail.com, and you can coordinate. We're going to go to lunch at Japan Express in Lincoln, and then drive on up to the other side of Hickory to West Penn Hardwoods. Love to have you join us. I invited Jack in the shop, but he's still got that 9 to 5, and he says he can't lay out sick anymore. He has to be there. So thank you for that, Ed. I appreciate that tip very much so. All right, so now back to how you can get the result that you want. I only want this inner piece right here. And if I select these 2 pieces as a group and then select my inner piece and use my Boolean assistant, then I can look and see, is that what I want? No, that's not what I want. Is that what I want? No, that's not what I want. Is that what I want? No, that's not what I want. Is that? Nope, none of that's what I want. So instead, you've got to ungroup that. And now, instead of thinking about these pieces as one individual 2mm heart, this is one solid piece. And if I put this in fill mode, you can see what I'm talking about. Let's put this one on a toolpath there. So I've got that solid piece of material, and I want to subtract that lace or that lattice from this piece right here. So don't think of that as an offset, but look at it and recognize it that that's one solid piece. So if that's, and if you acknowledge that as such, then we'll put it back on our red piece or red path. And I'm going to say that's the solid piece. That's A. And I want to subtract all of this. A subtract B. And I get that. Now I'm going to put this back on the red layer and group all of that together. There's layer 2. And I do like that. So I don't need this. But before I delete it, I'm just going to move it out of the way and wait. Wait till I'm done. But I think I like that. So if that's layer 2, and it's going to sit on top of the solid backboard, so you can paint that all white or pink or whatever, and then you can paint this all red and have a different color. Then that would be layer 2. But now I want to do a 3rd layer. And I've been thinking about this as I've been designing, because when I'm in design mode, I can actually do 2 or 3 things at one time. But ask me to walk and chew bubble gum, and I'll probably fall on my face. But I'm actually going to have a 4th layer in order to make it work in my 5-inch shadow box. But there's layer 1, there's layer 2. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to duplicate it, control it. And actually, I don't need to do it because there's layer 1. This is a duplicate. I'm going to just shrink this down 67%. Just say percentage 67%. And let's see how big that is. Is it too big? Yeah, that's still too big. Because I want to see more of my lace. So let's do it another 67%. And that's too much. So I'm just going to draw it out to about and actually no, it's not bad. Hold that, hold shift, put it in the center, and let's see. I'm okay. All right, there we go. That's kind of a good focal point. See how that right there would be really, really small and could be very fragile. So you'd either want to bring it back. I'm thinking I'm kind of liking that. Bring it down to where I've got because this distance from here to here should be 2 millimeters. So if I get this to about 2 millimeters, or right there to where it goes away, I'm liking that. Right about there. And that distance, it don't look like that's quite centered up, but it's awful darn close. How big is that? That's only 2 inches. All right. That's the problem with here. I'm trying to make something that's going to look really good in a 5-inch box, and we're going to do 3 layers, potentially 4 layers. And as you do your layers, typically you're either doing offsets where each one of them's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, or you're doing something like this. But as you're building up, you're reducing your overall size. And since I'm working with something this small already, then that 3rd layer, I'm down to about a 2-inch area. So any kind of artwork or detail you put in there, it's going to be kind of small. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. And Chris says that works kind of acts like a temporary grouping. Yeah. I'd never used that function before, and I am extremely grateful for Ed pointing that out. All right, so I'm liking that size. I'm liking where this all lines up and the spacing I got left up here. So I'm going to duplicate that. Control D, duplicate. I muted my mic. Got you back though, I think. Come over here in this screen. I don't know why it did that. Control D, make sure it don't do it again. Nope, there we go. All right, so I've got a duplicate of that. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not moving anything, but there's 2 duplicates on there. I'm going to select that entire layer as A. And then actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this ever so slightly larger, because I'm going to be cutting out that heart out of that middle piece of the lace. And if I just cookie cutter that out right there and then try and weld it back in with the other pieces, it's probably better I show you than try to explain it, because seeing, I don't know about you, but I learn visually. That's why I love YouTube. I I was reading a set of instructions today. Instructions don't match what I'm looking at. They were written in a fourth language, then translated 3 times into English, and it's like, okay. And then half the stuff's not even mentioned. So I'm a visual learner. So let me show you why I'm not going to do what I'm getting ready to show you. I could just select that. That's A, hold shift and select one of those hearts and subtract. And that takes that out. And now I'm going to come in here and do my 2mm inward offset and say, okay, I'm going to group those two together. And I'm trying to show you what not to do because it don't work, and watch it work. So I've subtracted those two. Then I did my inward offset, grouped them. Now hold shift and select this out here and weld those together. And no, it did not work. And what didn't work was it welded it together, but you've got these arbitrary little pieces here and there, little cut lines, and that it didn't line up just ever so right, just ever so. I'm going to undo. So now I've got my original lace / art lattice, and I've got my 2 duplicates. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete one of them. If that's the size that I really, really want it to be, I'm going to do an outward offset of 0.125 mil, 1/8 of a millimeter, and say, and don't delete the original, say okay. Select the resulting objects. I don't need to do that. Say okay. Now I'll select my lace / lattice, A, subtract B. I'm going to select that offset I just created and then subtract that. Nope. I need to subtract the inner one. So A, subtract the inner one. Now I'm going to create an inward offset of 2 mil. Group those. And now with that group, that's A and B, and weld those together. Nope. Undo. Sorry. Ungroup. There we go. Ungrouped it, welded that to the original, and now you see the edges are clean. You don't have those funky little pieces. There's a little bit of a triangle right there that needs to go bye-bye, and there's another one over here. But all those arbitrary lines are gone. And now I'll hold shift and select that inner heart and then group that all, and that would be that entire layer right there. That'd be layer 2. And I'd sit right on top of that. And Bob's your uncle. Looks good. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to ungroup all of this. And then this little bitty piece right there, I selected that one, and then hold or come up here to edit and select shape smaller than selected. Now that tool is named wrong. And I mention this every time I use this tool. Right now it says select shapes smaller than selected. It should say select shapes this size and smaller. because it will include that one. If it didn't include that one, if it was only shaped smaller than that one would still be there when we get ready to do what we do. But I select shape smaller than selected, and it found that one over there. And now I can just hit the delete button, and those are gone. Both of them are gone. Now I'll group all of that back. Actually, before I group it all, I'm going to grab this heart, and I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, move it over here. I'm going to grab all of this and group it. Now there's my layer 2. Finished with everything cleaned up on it. And that would go right there. I'm going to duplicate this again because I want to need it in a minute. I'm going to set it over here out the way. Now this one is the same as this right here. So I'm going to do an outward offset of the 2 mil and say okay, and group those together, and that would sit right on top of that. Now that's just an outline. If I were to ungroup this, the larger one, let's put it on a fill mode. It's a solid piece. If I put that solid piece, the third layer, it can sit right up on top of there. And it's not quite, there we go, right there. Or is it there? There it is. It would sit there. So that could actually be the third layer if that was just cut out. I've got it in a fill mode so you can see that that's a solid piece. So if we put that back on a cut layer, that could be a solid heart that would sit on top of the lace that you could then just put some engraving on. Engrave I love you, or, John and Mary, or our house, whatever. You can put, or, finally divorced, whatever. I don't care what, but you could engrave that on a solid piece and put that in there, and that'd be the one solid piece on for a third layer. Or if we want to incorporate using fonts and put cutouts in here, there's some hurdles you have to be careful for if you can cut the letters out. Switch. I'm on. All right. So put this back over here. And let's do, and I'm going to do this in 3 different lines of text. I'm going to do I, and then second layer, love, and the next layer, you, or next line. And the reason I'm doing that in 3 different lines is because I'm going to need to move these around independent from each other. And I'm going to change the font size of each one in order for it to fill the void that I want it to fill. And I can only do that with 3 separate lines of text. And I don't want to use Arial black. Let's do, I want to do some type of script. Or actually, that's not even script. We'll try Brussels. We'll try that. And you're like, wait a minute, that's going to be a problem. Well, I'm going to show you how you can make these work. These are independent letters or individual letters. I'm going to bring love in here and put it where it looks good. Now, if I take and select love, hold shift and select the smaller heart and tell it to go to center, there's center. It's down low. And I don't like that position. I think it looks better a little elevated, about like that. But I've got a problem with these are individual letters, and there's no way to cut that out, because if I cut out that O out here, then this falls away too. That's just a big hole, not the letter O. So first, let's connect the letters. And how do we connect these letters? By changing our horizontal spacing. Right now it's at 7 from a previous setting I used on those other letters. Put it back to 0. Still not touching. So let's reduce it. And the more we reduce it, the more it starts coming together. But is it going to come together and look right and have all of them touching? So if I pull that all the way in to get everything touching, now that don't look good. And if I stretch it out to make it the size that I need it to be, that don't look right. So Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. In order to make this look good, I'm going to bring my horizontal spacing down to where I get the O and the V are touching and look good. I'm going to increase the size. I'm actually going to cheat it a little bit. All right. Check your spelling, because once you do what we're getting ready to do, you can't edit the text anymore. In order for me to get these to all connect and still have somewhat similar dimensions and not be squished up like Play-Doh, I'm going to convert these letters to a path. So right click and convert to a path. Now I can take each individual letter and move it over to where it overlaps to where I like it. Grab this one and bring that one over. And I don't know that I'm going to get that one the way I want it with this, because that's looking too close here. But I've got to have it down here touching. So I'm going to need to deform or warp that letter. And I can do it here with this skew. And stretch it out and make it have the dimensions that I want. Or if I bring that in to where that's about as close as I want the top of the L to be, but I'm still not touching at the bottom, I can go into my node editing and just grab a bunch of these nodes and stretch that L out to where it overlaps. And then if I want to smooth that out, just hit the letter S for smooth and see what that looks like. And that's kind of funky looking. So go into nodes, and I'm actually going to select all of these and hit the letter D for delete and hit S right here for smooth and clean that up. And then look, that looks better. So now I've got an overlapping L and an overlapping E. So that plus that, weld it together, and that one, and weld it together. So now all of that's one piece. The O can cut out, the center of the O can fall away, but I need to have this overlapping that heart. So selecting all of that, I'll stretch it out a little bit to where it looks good. I've got overlapping here and here. And let's go ahead and put it in the vertical center and see what it looks like. Oh, I didn't have that grouped. Group that and put it in the vertical center and see. So there I've got a good overlap, but not over here. So I can just, don't want to stretch the whole thing, just the love. Stretching my love And now here, do you want to weld or do you want to subtract? You can do either or, but you can't do it with the letters grouped because the center part of your O will disappear. And what I mean by you can do either or, well, right now I've got all of this grouped, but that's individual and that's individual. These are not grouped. So if this is an individual piece, if that's one solid piece of wood, then I would need to subtract this from this. So if I hold shift and select the word and then subtract, you get that, and that works. That's welded up. Or that was subtract, Control Z. If this is grouped, hold shift and select love and weld it, and that works. And the O does stay there. The center of the O stayed where it was at. I've had occasion where that actually would disappear, and that might be when it was just a regular font and not a shape. But you could subtract love from the little heart or weld love to the grouped outside pieces. So there's love. Let's grab you, bring you up here, and we're going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go through it really quick because we're 90 minutes in. Let's put this at 0, and I don't have it touching yet, so we're going to bring it on down. And those are overlapping. In fact, that right there don't look terrible. And I'm going to make this one smaller. And then and I'm going to tilt this one just a wee bit. And weld it. And weld it. And actually, I want you to be a little bit bigger because I is attached to love. You is not. I'm going to make that bigger. There we go. And bring that up here to where they do overlap. That could cut out. Now that's a little bit unbalanced. I'm going to grab this heart, Control D, duplicate it, bring it over here, shrink it down. Then I'm going to rotate it. I just need to fill that void. And also by filling that void and attaching it here to the love, that reinforces that word and gives it more support. And weld that. So now that can serve as the third layer, and it's actually cut out. So now you would see the backboard. In fact, let's grab, can we get, let's see which, that's going to be that piece. We're going to move it to here for a second. Let's put this one on a light color and put it in fill mode. I'm going to let you guys see the layers. Put this one in fill. And let's change the view so I can see that other one. And let's put this one on that and put it in fill. And let's move it where I can see it. All right, and now change our view back to smooth. And so that's how that would glue up. You would see the very backboard, you'd see your lace, then you see that. So there's 3 layers. And that third layer you could do optional, where it's just a solid piece that you can engrave on. And being as small as this is, that might be the better option with a really small piece. Then if you're going to blow it up, then you could take and start cutting out that third layer for more, I don't know, to give it more oomph. I don't know the word I'm looking for. More pizzazz. But when you're dealing with something really, really small, in fact, I don't even know. I didn't even check the thickness of those letters as I was putting it together. That small, that might be too small of a design to do it in that 5-inch box. All right. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to make this work in a 5-inch box, and then I'm going to save it, and I'm going to put it on the website real quick and make it available for you guys who are still hanging out with me to download what you see right now. You've seen me design this in real time, haven't tested anything, don't know how well it's going to work. The bigger you make it, the better it's going to look, I think, with the way I've got some of these cuts so small. But let me show you what I'm going to do to try and make this work in the 5-inch box. So I'm going to hold shift and click on C20 and move that out. So that's selected. Now move it out of the way. That needs to go on a cut path. And then I'm going to see, or see, O2 needs to be line. They all need to be in line. So there's 1 layer, 2 layer, and then the back layer. Now, in order to make this work in the shadow box, I need to have a piece that I can put at the bottom of the shadow box that this can go to and look good. And I think what I want to do is take this heart, do a 2mm offset inward, group those, hold my shift button and hit my greater than, and that rotates it 45 degrees. Control D to duplicate it and then mirror that. Hold shift and put it in the bottom corner of that toolpath. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Undo. I meant to do that to that and that. And this to that. And I didn't mean to do that. There. My fingers, I'm hitting both buttons of the mouse. I'm screwing up. All right. Now I'm going to take, this is actually too big. I'm going to bring it down, put it in the corner. All right. Now that's where it's going to sit in the edge of the material in the box. but it's not touching that piece here. And I'm going to put my anchor point in that bottom left. And then I'm going to start increasing it by a percentage until I get overlapping of that heart right there. So I'm going to increase. See, my corner, that anchor stayed there. I can keep increasing this until I got the overlap that I'm looking for on both sides. Now, I don't want that one. I'm going to duplicate this one, Control D, duplicate it, mirror that, and align it to the right of that. All right. Now I'm going to weld those. In fact, we'll use edge trick. We'll select all of them and done. I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. All right. So now with that, that would be my actual bottom layer that I'm going to cut out and put on the bottom of that interior of that box. And then put, oops, I didn't make a duplicate. Control Z, undo, undo. I need a Control D, duplicate that, bring it over here. There we go. Now I'll weld those together. Man, I love that. Thank you, Ed. Man, you need to come and go with us to West Penn. I'll buy you lunch. That's awesome. All right, so that I'm gonna put that on the bottom of my shadow box. Put that on top of that, and then that, and then that. And honestly, in the shadow box, I'm probably going to do this. Control D, duplicate that, bring it down here. And that's what I'm going to save it as. I'll have this grouped. That's an option for the third layer. That's an option for the third layer. There's your second layer, third layer, and potentially a fourth layer. So I'm going to save this. And then get it up on the website so you guys can download it. So, file, save as, layered heart. So there's the Lightburn file. Now let's put it in all the other formats that you guys like. So export. AI. Export. DXF. Export. SVG. Compress. You guys understand, this is not a tested file. I am not giving it my Hobo stamp of approval that it's going to work without problems because I have not tested it. So you're going to download this and try it and know, hopefully you've learned enough here that you can, if there is a problem, you can make some alterations and fix it. But this is kind of a simple, it's not like a box where you've got to worry about fitment and alignment. And since I was only taking each layer and changing the offsets of it, it should line up and work fine. Should not be a problem with this. Should. Don't mean they won't be. All right, so I've got that done. Now, do 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 do. Add new media. All right. Products. Add new product. This is 4/12/2025 free file. And nothing to show. Virtual, downloadable. Price is 0. Click here to download and the file. Layered heart. Insert. Category is digital files. Okay, and publish. All right, so there it is, hobowithwood.com. It is now live on hobowithwood.com for you guys to go over and click on that, and you can download it for free today. Tomorrow, when I wake up, I'm going to take the free downloadable part of this off, and then I'm actually going to build it and test the file and make sure everything works, and then have a Hobo approved version that I'll be selling. So if you want this file for free, a big thank you for hanging out with me and watching how I do these creations. Go grab that now and grab it and scoop it up. And then I'll be advertising the finished version tomorrow or sometime next week. So I seen lots of numbers, and I love seeing these. I love this. Terry with the number 8, 9s, 2 Terrys with 9s. And for those who are new to the channel and don't know what those numbers mean, if they haven't explained it already, each time somebody learns something new watching this stream, they put a number in there. They learn a new thing, to 1. They learn a second new thing. Like tonight, I would put a 1 because I learned that top piece is not really a Boolean tool because it will work with more than 2 objects. So Gilroy's got a 42 up there. He's like, hey, I don't know, Gilroy, is that the year you were born, or is that how many things that you learned in this stream? Because I know a large lion's share of my viewers are, as I lovingly refer to, my old farts. You know, a lot of them been born in the mid 40s. So I don't know if that's your date of birth or how many things you learned tonight. I learned life, the universe, and everything. All right. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any questions? Because this actually is, we actually did make pretty good time here. We're just a little over 90 minutes. All right. I don't see any questions popping up. All right. For those who were late to the stream and did not see the opening, just a reminder. Let's see here. Wayne says, I wondered what they was. In that case, I'm up to about 20. All right. Yeah. Excellent. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, the reason we do that, Wayne, is when I'm teaching, when I first started doing this, the stream fell silent. There was no activity in the comments because everybody was just engrossed in watching, and and they weren't talking and chatting with each other. They were just, there was nothing going on. Well, that's bad because one, I don't know that if I've put everybody to sleep. And then two, it's also not good for the YouTube analytics. The more activity that's going on in the stream and the more comments that are taking place in the interaction, it helps with the analytics of the stream. It shows that people are engaged and interacting, and it helps with how the YouTube algorithm works. So I come up with that. It's like, okay, you don't have to say anything. You just acknowledge that you're there and you've learned something. One, enter. Two, enter. And that's worked out pretty good. And you'll start to see, I've noticed, I've noticed that in some of the other streams, they're starting to do some similar things like that. And I'm like, okay, I wonder if that's somebody from the Hobo Nation that's watching this other stream, and the owner of the channel who looks and sees a 4 and they're going, 4? 4 what? I don't know. Yeah. Hit that like and share and go gold. And I'm going to bring that, just throw that up at you again. For those who weren't here earlier, when I first started this stream, waiting for you lollygaggers to get here, I did show everyone what I gifted to my gold patrons on patreon.com, which is a collection of ready-made artwork of some popular designs and signs that I copied and emulated from things I've seen at Hobby Lobby, either live and in person or on their website. I showed how in one of my videos that I did this week or earlier last week, I showed how I actually designed it. I took a picture from Hobby Lobby and said, okay, I like that, but I'm not going to trace it because a trace creates anomalies and odd nodes. And so I just recreated the entire thing. And I did that with 22 different signs and designs, some of them completely original, and then some of them were copies of things I've seen elsewhere. And all of those were gifted to the gold patrons. And just a quick perusal. I don't need this anymore. I'm not going to go over these. I'm just going to let you see them. Put it in the center of the screen. Oh, in the center of the work area. Come on. There we go. And preview. Preview work. Yeah. So a whole bunch of different signs and designs and gags and jokes that are ready for engraving. That you don't have to redesign. If and where these come in handy is if you do craft shows. If you do craft shows and you've always got to have something that's going to appeal to people, do what's already selling. Go over to Hobby Lobby, emulate what they're doing. If it's funny and it's catchy, or if it's a nice little religious thing, or God bless this house, what have you. But sometimes it's hard to say, well, I want to say, bless this house, but I don't want just 3 words up there with, some fonts. It needs to have some artwork and some and doing different size fonts, bless this house, bless much larger than this house, emphasizing one word over the others. Don't get stuck with using one size font, or, and sometimes you need to do your fonts in different lines of entry so you can edit each one different sizes and use multiple fonts in the same sign. For instance, let's see here. Let's put it in here. Field, line, field. Here we go. For instance, this, my neighbors is one font, and then are listening to, and then great music. And that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different fonts in that one sign. And that just breaks up the monotony of one solid text. Don't get stuck on one individual text or one individual text size. That helps break it up. But all of the gold members got those 22 files in an art library for free. And in addition to that, I'm selling, if you go back over to the hobowithwood.com, I've got bunches of ready for engraving plaques and quality stuff, not any junk. This is solid maple. This is not a plywood. This is solid maple in a 5x7 plaque. These are about 10 mil thick. Or maybe 12. I'm sorry, 8 mil thick. 8 mil thick on these. I've got them with a cove routed edge, and I've got them without a cove edge. And then lots and lots of cedar in a 5x7 with a cove edge. And the cedar comes in a variation of colors. I offer them with a keyhole on the back or without a keyhole in the back. And here is my router box. I talked about this last week. I meant to show you. So those who've already checked out, they missed out. This is the jewelry box that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And this is the insert that came in the jewelry box that would normally sit inside there. I tossed that. I got my drawer down here in the bottom, and the drawer's got my tools for my router. It's got my wrench. It's got the extra bearings and the Allen key, any tool related I need for my routers in here. And then still got my mirror for my jewelry case. But there you can see I've got a nice engraved and labeled area for my router bits and room for more. And that's one style of bits, one size bits. A different style box. And these boxes I got at Dollar General and Dollar Tree for these were $5. Same thing, different. This one's for the smaller router. Instead of, yes, we can make a box, but you need something quick and cheap. This was $4.79 or $4.99, and it was 40% off. So it was only $2-3 for this box. You can't buy the hardware, the hinges, for that. And this one, I haven't converted this one yet, but this was also Hobby Lobby with the reinforced corners and double latch. This is actually perfect for a little toolbox. I'll just need to make some corner elevators to elevate the platform that those are going to go in. You couldn't, and this was the same thing. I think it was this one. Well, actually, here it is. This one was $8.99 or $9, and it was 40% off. So it's $5, give or take. You can't buy all that corner hardware, the hinges, the handle. If you go on Amazon, the hardware would cost you as much as what they buy the box for at Hobby Lobby on sale. So, guys, that'll do it for tonight. Unless anybody's got any questions, let me go back and look and see if there's any questions that I missed. Questions and or comments. Now, I think I get, is that, what's the name of that book? What's the name of, oh, fudge. The meaning of life. Duh. That, yeah. 42. Got it. Took me a minute. That was Kilroy that did that to begin with. And it took Chris to explain it to me. I get it. If you don't understand that, you need to go back, watch The Meaning of Life. What's the meaning of life? 42. File came through fine. Good. I found myself taking photos in shops and go, oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Wayne. I am camera in hand and going through and just taking pictures every time I go in there. Comments, questions. How do you highlight my name? I don't. Are you referring to like yours is not highlighted, but Chris's is? That's where he's a subscriber, I guess, on the YouTube channel. Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, not The Meaning of Life. Thank you. Hitchhiker's, yes. That, yeah. You know, I was first introduced to that in 1981. I don't know when that book was released, but I first seen that book in 1981, and I was in the 7th grade at that time. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. One of the universe or the galaxy. Yeah, that's, but then the movie, obviously, much later. Loved it. Yeah. Okay. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. All right, boys and girls and Peanut Gallery. I need to do don't panic, Black. Yep. Don't panic. Yeah. The question is, what is 6x9? The answer is 40. It's 54, not 40. I don't quite follow you on that one, Steve. 6 sevens is 42. 6 9. I don't follow you there. All right. Any questions on the design stuff? Either about what we talked about tonight. You got to, well, we're already at 2 hours. We're good. If anybody's got any questions about this stuff tonight, I'll still address it. That is the real question in the book. What is 6 x 9? Okay. Like I said, man, I don't remember that in the movie. And it's been a long time since I've seen the book. Can't find the sign file on your site. Reload. Go to hobowithwood.com, and if you don't see it, it's because of your settings and the way your computer is set up. If you go, in fact, switch, go back over here, because there's the home page, and right there it is. 4/12/2025 free file, $0. And other folks have already said they can download it. If you don't see this when you go to the homepage, hobowithwood.com, hit F5 on your keyboard. F5. When you hit F5, that should force a refresh and load the most recent, because most likely the reason you're not seeing it is because you're loading a previous cookie or whatever from when you were at the last on the website. And it's not pulling it from, it's loading from your cache and not loading from the internet. So go to see who said it. Jim said, Jim, go to hobowithwood.com and hit F5 and then tell me if you see it. Because it's there. And I'm just waiting for a confirmation from Jim. Jim said, or Jim Carl says he had to sign in to see the file. I don't know why that would be, because I think when you sign in, Carl, you're actually going to be loading it a new page. But I think even if you're not signed in, if you hit F5, forcing it to refresh the page, it should show it to you, even if you're not logged in. Should. But my email wasn't working today because of an update that the website did. And I needed it to work because that's how you get your files when you go and register from the download. So for the last 2 hours, I was troubleshooting email issues before I went live. Artifact in the right. You know what? And I hate it when Lightburn does that. In the lower right or the lower left, Scott says there's an artifact in the right, to the right of the work area. It should be on the home page, Jim. And Terry says F5 did not work for him. He had to sign in. Okay. Learning something. Let's go over here and look at what people are seeing here. It says there's an artifact, and Lightburn will do this sometimes. File, new, discard, and let's go in here and load. File, open from e-commerce, open this one. This is what you guys will be opening. That don't need to be there. Delete that. I should have deleted that before I saved it. But is it in the right or in the, well? Oh, Scott says that was it. Okay. Yeah, that was the initial. If you weren't here for the whole thing, after I designed that lace / lattice, I didn't want to have to undo. I wanted, that was a just in case I need to go back to that. And whenever I put my final approved Hobo stamped version out there tomorrow or next week, it won't have that up there. I'll update. In fact, the free part will be gone tomorrow. Okay. Blame the browser update. Sometimes they log you out of open pages, sometimes not. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. 25% of them's already bailed and jumped ship. We're done for tonight. I do thank each and every one of you. I do ask, if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. Support this channel. The patrons know a lot more about Hobo. I share with my patrons because the patrons are my life support. My patrons are what allow me to continue to do what I'm doing. And they are more from, they probably know more than they want to know, put it that way. And I would greatly appreciate it if you went over to patreon.com/hobowithwood. Look at becoming a gold member. You're getting you'll have all of the digital files for free on Hobo with Wood. All of them. I ask that you don't download every one of them in one shot, because you can't build all of them in a month. You download what you want as you need it, but the downloads will always be free. And I try to put up something new every week. I try to. The last few weeks have been hard on me, but things are getting better really quick. I'll be beginning back into the two videos a week and the new files every week. So, hobowithwood.com. Patreon.com/hobowithwood. Get the birdhouse and the vault. Yeah. You like that bank? All right, guys. Thank you for another wonderful week. I appreciate all the support from my patrons. God bless you for what you do. And if you're interested in any of those plaques, they are on the website. I don't know how. I just put those up today. I don't know how the freight's working on those. A box like this. This is a box of 9. I'm doing the cedar planks. If you buy 8, I give you a 9th one for free. And it might have a little irregularity in it. It might have a knot in it somewhere. It won't be a premium piece, but it'd be ideal for testing. But it will have the routed edges on it and everything else too. So you could actually make a final piece out of it if you didn't need to do the testing. But if you buy 8, I'll give you a 9th one for free. And a box like this, shipped in the United States, has been running an average of about $10. So I don't know how the website's going to be calculating the freight. If it does something screwy, let me know. And instead of say, hey, look, man, if it's wanting to charge you $12, $15, $13, $15, $20 for freight, bring it to my attention and I may have to figure out something else. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I am signing off. Thank you guys, and have a good weekend. And if you're local, Ed, and I've seen a few others that were, if you're still here, if you want to go to West Bend Hardwoods Tuesday, hit me up, hobowithwood@gmail.com. Thanks, guys, for being here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Good night.